Dear members of my strategy community, welcome to this first episode of the University of Strategy, Strategy Made Simple and Elegant. I'm thrilled and feel privileged to start a very ambitious strategic journey with you. A journey when we can together elevate the strategic state of the world by helping you elevate your strategy. So let's get to the core of the matter and start with the most natural question to start our journey. What is strategy in the 21st century? Obviously, this question has been around for centuries and has been covered extensively. From the art of war on ancient military battlefields to the art of strategy in the modern competitiveness of boardrooms. And from the 60,000 strategy books references on Amazon to those who made it to my strategy desk. But today, I define strategy by three numbers, and three numbers only: 4, 6, 4. A four-phase process and an outcome resting on 6 fundamentals across 4 different levels. Now, let's dive into the details of what this strategically means. And let's construct our framework definition progressively. The four-phase process refers to what I call the strategy continuum, from insight to result, i.e., a continuum of 4 strategic activities that really shape and define the strategy making process of the firm. Starting with strategic thinking, the analytical core DNA of strategy that serves a dual purpose: defining the overarching strategy of the company and translating that strategy into value drivers and differentiated performance indicators throughout the organization. And those strategic insights will then nurture the strategic planning, aimed at translating strategy further into a structured plan of initiatives across all the entities of the company. Now, if executed perfectly, strategic planning can be powerful in 2 meaningful ways. Firstly, it gives confidence in the strategic capacity of your firm to actually deliver its strategy by validating its feasibility strategically, operationally, and financially. And subsequently, it truly serves as a compass for strategy implementation, which is balanced between day-to-day strategy implementation and the implementation of strategic initiatives through project. And ultimately, the result of strategic implementation will be subject to strategic monitoring, which will either confirm the expected performance level or initiate corrective courses of action in order to restore performance, put it back on track, and then take it to the next level. Now, from strategic thinking to strategic monitoring, this holistic perspective of strategy as a continuum comes with 2 major considerations on the critical role of strategic planning. First consideration: strategic planning is not a strategy, but merely a translation of it. Second consideration: there isn't, and there shouldn't be, any disconnect between strategy and implementation, because they both belong to the same strategy continuum of the firm, where strategic planning plays a critical role as a bridge between the insight of strategic thinking and the result of strategic implementation. Now, let's turn our attention to the six fundamentals. And those fundamentals refer to the six foundational questions at the core of any strategy around the world. And those six questions are, first, the existential why of the strategic purpose of the firm, which I define as a synthesis between the strategic ambitions and societal aspirations. Second, the what of the value proposition, whose answer aims to articulate the different types of value you do actually bring to the customer's table. Third, the who of the client to serve, which might be reframed alternatively as the question of the problem to solve and for whom. And finally, the remaining three questions, the how, the where, and the when, should really be considered collectively, because they collectively relate to the infrastructure of the company, namely its value chain and underlying assets, utilized to create, capture, and sustain the economic value. Now, those questions are not just random simple questions. As a matter of fact, they do constitute the raw materials of your strategic thinking. And if you take a step back and think of strategy as an outcome of the strategy making process, answering those questions is really where strategy as an outcome takes shape. And the beauty of the matter is that those six questions, this mental map of strategic questions to keep in mind, is universal across industries, ecosystems, or economies. But they must be answered across the four strategic levels of the firm, what I call the four levels of the strategy pyramid. In hindsight, under the construct of strategy as a management discipline, for the last 6 decades, we've been leading and managing businesses with a three-level strategy pyramid, with a corporate, a business, and a functional level, where corporate level strategies deal with both the portfolio strategy of the firm and the headquarters strategies aimed at supporting it, where business level strategies deal with strategy at the level of the individual business unit. And finally, where functional strategies architect the strategic alignment between the support functions and both the corporate and the business level strategies of the firm. But the purpose economy of the 21st century has actually expanded that pyramid by putting purpose on top of it as the fourth and ultimate level of strategy. And consequently, we've really entered into the purpose-driven era, where purpose-driven strategies lead, drive, and structure the corporate, the business, and the functional strategies of the firm. Now we do have a framework for strategy in the 21st century, a four-phase strategy continuum structured across four strategic activities, resting on six foundational strategic questions to be answered across the four levels of the strategy pyramid. And I really invite you to make this definition your own. More than an invitation, I strongly encourage you to take ownership of it and to bring it to life into your own organization. And I strongly encourage you to do so for three reasons. First, its simplicity. Second, its superpower, because there is a superpower in that definition. And third, for what that superpower will help you achieve strategically. Now, what kind of superpower am I talking about? I believe that this reframed definition of strategy has the potential to elevate the collective strategic thinking within your company beyond the C-suite. In particular, I believe that equipped with that framework, anyone in your company can think and act as a strategist by asking oneself three very simple questions. Question number one, where am I in the strategy continuum? Or in other words, where do my activities, my day-to-day operations fit into the full strategic activities of the strategy making process of the company? Question number two, to which of the six foundational questions am I answering in what I do? And finally, question number three, at which strategic levels of the firm am I operating? So essentially, I'm strongly convinced that by empowering employees to think and act strategically through the lens of these three simple questions, you not only have the opportunity to elevate the collective strategic intelligence within your company, but you do actually have the potential to build a more strategic company, a company that strategically delivers on the promises of its strategy. Now, a final thought before concluding, and allow me to go back to my initial promise to you in my introduction video, making strategies simple and elegant. So I trust that you could see some sense of strategic elegance in this reframed definition of strategy for the 21st century. But beyond the framework, what I really invite you to do is to take a distinctive look at strategy. Likewise, I trust that you could envision in this episode, in this reframed definition of strategy, a case in point of how harnessing the power of simple strategic questions can not only elevate your strategy and take it to the next level, but ultimately that it can help you build a more strategic company. I see you in the next episode.